Welcome back to Insight Club. Today's topic is enlightened people are serious. Is it so? Stay tuned for the conversation. The first rule of Insight Club is you don't talk about Insight Club. You do Insight Club. The second rule of Insight Club is the only assumptions we make about one another are that we all want happiness and we all want to avoid suffering. The third rule of Insight Club is you check all your other assumptions at the door. We hope these conversations will bring you insights that incite you to action. Welcome to Insight Club.
And you ask yourself, where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Welcome back. And actually, this time the phrase that got me here was "where's my mind" in a different way, because I was thinking "where is my mind" can come up in a very I'm completely lost and clueless way, but it can also be like when you don't even know where your mind is, you're kind of merged with the all, and then that's where you can just find that truth and peace that enlightened people seek.
Oh, that feels so good. I'm like, I just want to hang out there.
Yes.
Let's just ride that vibe. And what's interesting is that feeling good, like you talking about it, I was feeling some of the echoes of that. And it immediately makes me giggle.
Yeah.
How apropos for the conversation we wanted to have around enlightenment and seriousness and the assumption that those things go together.
Yes. So I loved when you brought that idea up because, do you want to explain why you brought that idea?
Yeah. When we're recording this and when some of you are watching it, it's August 1st, which is Remembrance Day for a teacher you knew far better than I did. I met only once, but learned a lot from online, Guru Jagat. And I was saying
to meet her in person. I met her online only.
Yeah, because of you. And what I was saying is that I value her so much for introducing, or for at least you introduced me to Kundalini Yoga, but Guru Jagat is the teacher at Rama who made me go, okay, I want to get into this. And the reason was because she's freaking hilarious. She made me laugh. I mean, her classes were part yoga, part stand-up comedy. And having been a skeptic my entire life of anything organized, especially in a spiritual realm, I won't touch organized religion with a 10-foot pole. It immediately makes me back away because there's that feeling of fear that somebody's going to take advantage, that they're going to say this is the way and the only path and you've got to do it this way. And then before I know it, I've given over my power and my self-sovereignty in the spiritual realm to somebody in a very human way who's just trying to be in control. And that's my baggage. I'll own that. That's part of my soul's journey. That doesn't have to be true about a religious experience at all. But I've always been so skeptical and so wary. And she, with her humor, invited me into this practice that I appreciate so much, that has supported me so much in the last, 3.5 years since I've been exploring it. And so it's such a contrast to me, how she is, or how she was. She's still in video, right? So I feel like her presence is still there, but how she was and how she brought humor and a sense of not taking herself too seriously. At the same time, she was fully dedicated. So what seems like a contradiction, which is being a disciple and being disciplined. And, she could be a hard ass in her classes. She's like, don't you quit now, just keep your legs moving or whatever it was. But not serious and somber, mixing humor, bringing humor to spirituality and to enlightenment, and the contrast with what we may think spirituality is, which is very somber, very serious. Can't laugh, it's the kind of master, the taskmaster teacher. Are you kids giggling over there? Are you laughing? Are you enjoying your enlightenment? You shouldn't be enjoying your enlightenment.
And at the same time, this is I have 3 points with what you just said that I need to. Well, first of all, I need to tell you that my brain just exploded a little bit when you said disciple and discipline, because for some reason my mind didn't connect the two until now, and I was like, oh, of course, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, same. You know, I love the root of the words. Anyway, I love that, and this brought me to something that I love about everything that Guru Jagat taught, but also with Kundalini Yoga and so on, uh, which is that discipline not only is a discipline with the joy of what you're doing, but also with devotion. Because she always made it very clear, you're doing this for yourself. Like, it's you that you're fighting when you think, I can't stand any longer in this position. It's you that you're fooling if you think like, oh, I can just relax for a while and go back into it. But still, it was never like you failed if you don't do it. The giggles were everywhere in every class with her. And even when she's saying like, don't you dare to give up, and so on, there was a joke in there. And so many, especially the rebirthing classes, had so many jokes that you crack laughing when you almost can stand the time that you are in movement, or in a in a in a position. But just that joy just brings you back to, okay, let's keep going. This is what we're focusing on. This is what we are uh, present with.
Yeah. The joy and the giggling are putting me in mind of like being more of ourselves instead of
Yeah.
being less of ourselves. Like there's a kind of I find in really intense kriyas, you get to this place and there's a decision point, and it's like I either keep fighting this or I relax into it. And the relaxing into it is often like, oh yeah, my arms hurt like a fuck ton and they're just gonna hurt. In fact, sometimes when things go on for a really long time, I'm like, maybe I just live here now. Maybe this doesn't end. Like it's a weird thought, but you just kind of accept, oh, maybe I'll just be holding my arms like this forever. And there isn't any. So instead of going, oh, can I just rest? Can it be done? Can it be done? You go, well, maybe it'll never be done. There's a weird piece to it because it's just an acceptance and a surrender. And that is like, from my experience, creating more space for me instead of the discipline is pushing me smaller and smaller and smaller. And joy and laughter and giggling are a sign, are a reminder that it's just me, and I'm making more space for me, and I'm expanding into greater capacity. And the more, like, each time I don't quit, each time I don't put my arms down, I build a new self-identity.
Yeah.
There was a class of hers recently that they played in the Aquarian Women's Leadership Society, because they'll do like the enrich times where you show up to the live class and you do the core kriyas, and then they play one of Guru Jagat's older classes. And in it, she was joking about offending people and how she loves doing it And it was later in the class, and somebody came in, and she's like, "Oh, there's space for you right here," because somebody left because I offended them. I try to offend people so they'll leave and we'll open up more space. And she's partially joking, but she's partially not, right? Like poking people with love, and this idea of, if you're really offended, and you're like, "Oh no, I can't believe somebody said that," and you walk out of the class, it's like, okay, cool, you just opened up a space for somebody else who wanted to be here. And there's not a meanness to it. There's not a sense of, it's not at all about excluding people, and we think this way and you think that way, and you can't be here. It's really just like that prodding of, are you sure you're gonna quit? Are you sure? Like, you don't have to quit right now. Like, there's a beautiful helping you up level in all of that silliness and humor.
And not just that, she was very opposed to um, anything that created like a sense of not not having freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So the it's not like she was going to offend someone just to make a mean comment or something like that. The offense was on the side of the person who takes it, because it was always something like, if you can't receive an opinion that doesn't match yours, or an idea, a fact, or whatever contradictory thing, you're probably not ready for this.
Yeah.
Because it was, and this is something that Hari Jivan does a lot as well, and Guru just does a lot, not only in the sense of offending, but like just throwing some random information around whatever it is that people are not used to just talk softly in the beginning of a class. So it can be aliens, it can be, I don't know, some random thought or fact, I don't know, whatever it is, that some people will be like, what? Is this a teacher? Where am I?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be completely, misquoting her, but like something that Guru Jagat has said like a lot of times, and makes me really grateful for Instagram and these, nuggets of wisdom that are still circulating. But like, one of our goals is to become strong enough that when people say things that we don't agree with, we're just like, oh, okay, cool, man. And I really do have that as a goal, and for me that's such a great barometer of when I'm when I'm on the path to enlightenment, when I'm in my like highest self or higher self, and when I'm not. How easily are my feathers being ruffled? And maybe that's a like a key to this whole conversation about enlightened people are serious, is it so? That we I, I think we tend to, not we as in you and I, but like people generally at this time we live in, right? We tend to think when somebody is adamant, when they're full of bluster, when they are like a wall of talking at you and not giving you any space, they must be an expert.
Yeah.
We've created that, oh, I've just lost the word, that archetype,
Yeah.
the like, I'm not even going to give you a room to speak because I'm so right that I have to fill up all of the space with my rightness. And it's clear to me that's actually the opposite. That's like that, if you are so secure in your beliefs, there's no reason to defend them that way.
Yeah.
Because that need for somebody else to see the reality you're seeing comes directly from a worry and a doubt deep
Insecurity.
down. that we don't want to acknowledge. Like, what if it's not this way? So I better fill up all the space with my belief so there isn't any room. And the person who's just like so absolutely living their belief is just like, okay, cool. I mean, even the way you phrased the title, the question, is it so? Right? I think of that as a very enlightened, you know, question, right? Like the Buddhist parable about oh, your horse broke its leg. That's terrible. Oh, is it so? Or, or your son, whatever it is, like the son and the horse and the the series of events happening to the farmer, right? His enlightened question is it? Is it so?
Could be.
Could be, right?
It's one version. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said this, because this brings a paradigm that we have with spirituality. And I think that's the reason why both you and I had a aversion to anything organized and anything structured that tells you a system of things that you need to follow, and this is the way, and otherwise you're lost into oblivion or whatever it is, you go to hell anyway.
Eternal torture. That's what you won. Eternal torture. Would you like a pitchfork in your eye or up your nose?
Terrible. It's the difference between, in broad terms, a dogma or dogma based spirituality, or a experience knowing based spirituality. Because this insecurity that you mentioned is that if I have a belief, and if anything challenges my belief, then the whole assumption that I had for my life and for the meaning of life and for who I am and where I'm going and everything is lost. It's going to create a sense of loss of identity for me. Then of course I'm going to be offended by anything that challenges it, and of course I'm going to defend this with my every pitchfork that I can find. But if my spirituality is based in my experience and my relationship with spirit, or whatever you call it, my relationship with the all knowing and all creator of all, and I can have my, even if it's brief moments of ecstasy, diving into it and just basking into that peace, then there's nothing to be challenged, because I know what I lived. And anyone's views or beliefs or opinions can't destroy your own experience. And I think that's the difference between what we were talking about, the enlightened people that are serious and need to defend their views in a more egoic way, which is kind of funny, and the enlightened people that can laugh at themselves and are okay when they make a mistake, because they know that being enlightened or reaching that, it's not like a constant thing. They know that they're still human, and they can laugh at their humanity and still have that ecstatic experience.
That brings another dimension to this idea of discipline and to the push, from I think a good teacher does, go like, we've got 45 seconds, give it all you've got, like that feeling of I'm in it and I'm doing it, right? What they're pushing you toward is that experience, is that self supplied connection, wisdom, that is the antidote to dogma, as you were saying. So that push, that discipline isn't around, like there's such a contrast in a dogma-based belief system, the push and the discipline is you better not be getting distracted by or interacting with anything that's outside of our beliefs. Like, you better be disciplined to cut out anything that could possibly make you want to explore something else. And the discipline in an experience-based spiritual system is you go as hard as you can, because that's how you're going to know the truth of this for yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah. You always ask about the insights, and you just brought one, because yeah, there for anyone who watches this that don't know how Kundalini Yoga works, the teachers never teach something that they never tried. They teach what they've experienced. So that makes a lot of sense, because I've seen when I'm teaching something, I know what I experienced in a kriya and in a moment of a set. So we, of course, they know where is the point where you might want to give up, where is the point where you're gonna have a breakthrough if you continue, and what are the things that your mind might be playing around with you as well, because it is a little bit of a fight. Our subconscious wants us to just stay in the known and safe and secure, and like you don't go past that. And there are things that might create and whenever you go into anything that is a little bit unknown, the subconscious will bring fears that are not real, like um, my arm's gonna fall if I don't stay in this.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
I don't think my elbows do that. I'm just not meant to do this. Yeah.
yeah, that's not physically possible. Or like even like when you start the breath work, you might feel like, if I continue, I'm gonna faint or whatever. And actually, you're just moving past a lot of things and releasing chemicals that your brain never touched, maybe. And then you get to experience different realities and open up different portals that not everyone will discover.
Yeah.
And that can create fear. But that can also create the moments where you feel like, oh, now I understand.
It's a lot of power to wield.
Yeah.
I mean, that part can be frightening, right? That it's within me to do this. And when I was on the super boost this morning, having not been in a long time, I think I went, it's like every day, and I think I went twice in all of July. And that reminder that, how fortunate we are to have these teachings. And I'm sitting there and I'm realizing part of my resistance to showing up and doing this practice regularly is that's frightening. That's frightening that I have the power to elevate myself and to be on this path to enlightenment. And I don't have to wait for a letter from Hogwarts, and I don't have to be chosen. And I don't have to even go through like catechism and memorize a lot of stuff. I have this power, and like, oh crap. I'm the key to unlocking my own greatness. Uh-oh. Maybe I'll just go hide for a while.
Yes.
And not do the daily practice. I mean, that's a big deal. And there's something, as much as I was saying, I have all of this, kind of pullback feeling around organized religion. There's also a big appeal to me because I love rules and I love complicated steps. And there are a lot of places in my life where I've created the reality that I have to go through all of the complicated steps in order to get the prize on the other side. And lo and behold, I'd never have gotten the prize. I'm like, but I'm doing all the steps, guys. And there's a security in that. Like, I never have to be bold and brave enough to shift into larger impact. Like I do this a lot in my business. I was like, I never have to really face that fear and uncertainty of more people knowing about me, which means more people might not like me. But I'm still doing all these little motions that are on the path, right? So I get to pat myself on the back and say, I'm checking off the list. And that's a really safe option. And that's what's available in a dogma based belief system, because you're like, well, I go every week to the right place and I say the words and I do the, like, but I'm never really faced with the responsibility and abject terror of being responsible for my own enlightenment.
And we can even open this to other things, like even like in business, there are so many courses that give you all the steps, and you can be doing all the things, but we're living in a world where just doing all the things sometimes don't work.
Yeah.
And we can bring this to, I don't know, dieting, when people sometimes are doing all the things and they're eating correctly and they're exercising, and for some reason things are not working, and maybe their body is under stress, and there's a different thing that they need to work on. It's not just about everything that they're doing. I know for myself, in times where I couldn't lose weight, I was just like overly stressed, not sleeping well, and with a lot of cortisol in my body. So of course, nothing really works. But
Of
people,
cortisol, nothing works.
on cortisol, nothing works.
I love that expression. Of cortisol.
I love
Of
that.
course, it's cortisol. Yeah, there's something
Cortisol.
there because
And
it's at the root of lots of our challenges, right?
yeah, and I feel like what you just mentioned, with like feeling like, oh yeah, if I'm doing the right things, everything is gonna be okay. It's a fear-based kind of thing, and it's the same in spirituality. It's like, if I'm doing all the things, I'm gonna go to heaven, or if I'm going doing all the right things, everything is gonna be well. When we know that nothing is certain,
Yeah.
and it's it's not a fear that's going to create good. It's what we actually have inside.
And you brought up devotion. So there can be discipline without devotion. And I think that's us going through those steps. I'm wearing the hat, I'm chanting the chants, I'm singing the songs, I'm going to the place, like all of these things that I think intuitively we know are ridiculous. And it's really easy for somebody of one system to make fun of somebody from another system, right? Look at their, like our hats are spiritual, but their hats are ridiculous. Or, it's like our prayers are to the true God, but their prayers are just mumbo jumbo, right? And I think because we have an intuitive knowing that something that's this really rigid, overly complicated, you have to turn in 3 circles and do this. It's like, really, is that alive, or is that just kind of dead and people are perpetuating it? Like there doesn't seem to be any spirit in it. Versus if you like go to a church service and you feel the devotion of the people around you. When I was visiting a friend, I went to church with her and her family, and it was like everybody's singing and there's just like this spirit moving through you. And I'm like, I don't believe this dogma, but I feel this spirit. I feel this aliveness. I feel this connection. So there's a memo somewhere I'm missing, right? Like I'm not fully understanding all of the subtleties here, but there's obviously spirit in this place and in this service. And that I can get on board with.
I love that you brought that, because I want to make the there are two things that are coming to my mind, and I'm gonna excuse myself for not remembering where are those passages, because I I haven't read the whole Bible. I read some of it, and I remember some of the things, but I'm not the kind of person that's going to say this is in Matthew, this is in Luke, this is. I don't remember. Okay, but you can do your search if you
Pretty
want.
thick book.
Pretty thick book, yeah.
There's a lot in there.
I have some notes, but I don't have them with me. So if you want to do your search, you do your search. I want to bring it is because one of the things that I want to, I think it's important with dogma is knowing that it's not that this doesn't have dogma and that other thing has. There might be a lot of Kundalini teachers that have dogma. There might be a lot of teachers in whatever spirituality thing that you go that have dogma. Just as with scientific stuff, there's a lot of dogma. It's not just all truth. Don't think that anyway, we can go in on another route with that. But I feel like even with Christianity, there's a lot of truth that people don't carry well. So there's a passage, I can't remember where in the Bible, where what is being challenged, and I if I'm not wrong, it is Jesus who's questioned, but it might be some other part where the thing that's being questioned is that the people on that land, that I can't remember which land was either, were too attached to the rituals and they forgot the devotion in it. They had all the rituals right, but they weren't uh, doing it with the right intention, with the right devotion, with the right presence. And this is something that's, even though I can't remember the passage, it stood with me, because anytime I feel that I'm saying the words, I'm doing the movement, I'm doing the prayer, but I'm not connected and I'm not feeling, and that's not bringing me to tears of love and devotion, I'm doing something wrong. There's something that is not, it's not quite right in there. If I can feel that joy, if I can feel that connection, I'm just doing a ritual and I'm not connected with the true purpose of it. And this is in the Bible, so if you want to see, it's not about dogma, it's not about doing everything right, it's about the devotion in it. And the other thing is that Jesus talks many times about like being like a child when you meet spirit, God, and so on. Is a child serious? Like, really? Is a child serious? Is a child trying to do everything right? No. They're messy. And they say things that you shouldn't say, and that adults think, like, you shouldn't talk like that with someone that's in power, like, and so on. But they have that purity in their heart. They come without an ego, without that sense of grandiosity. They come pure, innocent, open. That's all we need.
First, I want to say I think it's absolutely brilliant that you don't remember the passage in the Bible or even who said it, because but how beautifully illustrative is that? Right? The important thing isn't so and so said this and it was here and it was this and I can, cite it and all of the, it's like the feeling it gave me was this remembrance and realization that we need the devotion, right? So I think that kind of is like just beautifully apropos. And the second thing is, I only recently heard this, and I heard somebody paraphrasing it. And so now I'll try to paraphrase the paraphrase, but it's like, it comes from C.S. Lewis, and he's saying, like, trying to be grown up is something like any smart adult should have outgrown by now. and he says something like, when I was a child, I tried so hard to pretend I was too grown up for fairy tales. And only now that I am grown up can I admit that I love fairy tales and I love that joy and I love that laughter. Right. So this, this is something that's, just being crushed out of children is this sense of engagement with the world and creativity and curiosity, and probably not unintentionally. Sir Ken Robinson in his TED Talk about education and creativity talks extensively about the way our school systems are set up. It does a really phenomenal job of just crushing that creative spark in children. And we, unless we're grossly incompetent, we should have been able to see that by now and fix it. So it makes you go, okay, well, in whose best interest is it for children to lose that spark? Well, a capitalist society that needs consumers. Like, we're no longer humans, we are literally called consumers. And the less in love with life we are, the more anxious and cortisol filled we are, and then the more we buy to try to fill that void inside of us. I mean, to me, that's not rocket science. That's just like a pretty straightforward formula for making sure you have an endless supply of consumers. But being like a child also, to me, is being very in the moment.
Yes.
I feel it. And there's so many beautiful moments of childhood, in my experience anyway, that were just about like the overwhelming feeling, like spinning in circles until you're dizzy and you fall down, and feeling the grass and laughing and shouting and crying and all of the, and I'm a highly sensitive and deeply feeling person, and was as a kid as well. So maybe I've got a particular view that not everybody's got of what it was like to be a child. But I also did a lot of childcare. I spent all my teens and 20s doing babysitting, and then moved into teaching kids. And so I've spent a lot of time around children, and there's that pure delight. And recently I was hanging out with my nieces, who are 4.5 and 6.5. And I asked them to give me a tour around their backyard, and they showed me their garden, and they took me around to the honeysuckle tree, and they're like, "Aunt Megan, this is if you pull this off and then you can drink the honeysuckle." And they showed me like they have a mulberry tree, and we ate the mulberries off of, and this just pure delight in nature, in trees, in plants. And I was so alive and felt God in those moments. If you're depressed and you feel disconnected, go spend time with a child and feel that unfiltered, raw sense of belonging, sense of connection, sense of joy, sense of curiosity. Even the tantrums, right? Even the tantrums are like, I really feel like life should be better than this, and I am not happy with how things are going. It's a full expression that is not, man, it's one of the reasons that I kind of seethe when I see videos of small kids who've already learned the mannerisms of adults, and you see them performing on video in a self-conscious adult way. I don't know how to describe it. I don't mean performing as in they're doing a dance or doing something like that. That can still be like really wonderful and childlike. But when you see a 3-year-old girl talking to the camera the way a 23-year-old woman talks to the camera and does those same mannerisms and those, I'm like, oh, why'd you break that child? She's got plenty of years to learn self-consciousness. She's got plenty of years to start showing up in a way that's disingenuous and inauthentic. Why the fuck would you start so early? It's like, to me, it's like the same feeling when I see a baby being given a Coca-Cola, and I'm like, oh, you've got your whole life to drink that poison. Don't start now.
Preferably not. I love that you brought that being in the moment and being so present, and the not being so self-conscious. Because one thing that I find very beautiful, and I see this with a small cousin of mine, is that enjoyment that I can say even ecstasy, that overjoyed happiness of just with small things. Like she says stuff like, everyone is here, and she's so happy that everyone is here when everyone is together.
Yeah.
And I think, like, how many times are we so happy and so overjoyed of just being with people that we love, or just uh, sharing something, and we usually don't express in that way because for some reason either we're insecure or we're too self-conscious to express in such a, like, it's not normal to express in such a so much joy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think at a certain point we learn it, but then we internalize it. So it doesn't even occur to us. After a while of living in the adult world, it doesn't even occur to us to be that effusive. I recently connected with somebody via Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, you were recommended about storytelling," and we're just kind of having this chat. And a few messages in, she's like, "I love you."
I love
And I
that.
wrote back and I said, "I'm so glad we're at the I love you stage, because I'm the person who just within 5 minutes of meeting you wants to give you a hug and ask you about your deepest desires and dreams."
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, let's normalize saying I love you in networking
Let's
situations.
normalize saying I love you and hugging, and yeah, all of it, please. I remember in my childhood hearing the serious kids say, like, why are you so joyful? Why, what is so funny about it? Like, when I'm just cracking, laughing open, and and I got to internalize that for a while of like, is that something wrong with being happy or being joyful? Like, as if you're more important if you're not joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. Serious people are more enlightened. Serious people are more trustworthy. Serious people. And I wish in English we had two different words for this, because there's serious meaning I don't crack a smile. I am, I have this very put together look. And there's serious as in I'm taking it to heart. Oh, I'm very serious about my pursuit of helping people with storytelling. It's so important to me. I put my whole heart into it. I show up as fully as I possibly can. We need different words for those.
I think the word for that second one is like, I really care
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've been questioning with the words that I use as well. Because one thing that I used to say when something like matters, I would say, like, I'm worried about this. And then I was like, no, it's not that I'm worried. Worry is something that we're creating in our mind about something that might not even happen. It's, I care. That
Yeah.
matters to me.
Yeah. I'm
That's,
invested in this. Yeah.
yes. Yes.
I'm invested in it instead of I'm serious about it. Feels good. Um, yeah. So I'm teaching influential storyteller again, and I was sharing with the folks in it, um, my personal way of realizing when I'm in a moment of realization, and it could be different for other people. But what happens for me is I get cosmic laughter. You and I have talked about this before. So for me, laughter is actually a sign. Not only, it's not just I can be on an enlightened path and laugh, but for me, laughter is a crucial sign that I am shifting, that I am seeing myself in a new way, that I am letting go of an assumption or a belief, that I'm open to new wisdom, all these brilliant things that I think are the point of having a human existence.
Yes.
Laughter for me is that breakthrough moment. And it might not be the same for everyone. I'm not making that claim, but it's hugely important, I know, for me in growth and evolution.
I have three pointers that I can see that, oh, there's something shifting, there's something powerful in here. One is laughter, just like what you said. The second is just crying, like bursting into tears. And it's not the tears of sadness, it's different. It's something that just comes out and you feel that there's something different. And also there's a more subtle one that is what I'm feeling throughout this conversation as well, which is a kind of like a tingling feeling in my heart
Mhm.
that just feels like, oh, there's something moving, there's something that is like connecting pieces together and creating new pathways that and I'm saying neural pathways, but like neural pathways in my heart, because we know that there's there are brain cells in there as well. Anyway, uh, creating new connections that are going to be carried over with
Mm.
time. So these are true things that, and it might be in our gut as well. It might be in our mind. That tingling sensation, is something that is a more subtle feeling that
Mm.
I know that something's changing.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought those. I get those as well. You saw me tearing up before
Yeah.
it was like the tears start flowing. And it makes me realize that the chills and tingles and the tears tend to happen to me when I'm in relation to somebody else and those breakthroughs are coming. And the laughter tends to happen when I'm by myself.
Yes.
Or it's like it's just me and God, and I'll start cracking up and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Got it.
Yes. Mm.
But absolutely there's those subtle signs, and it's, here's a related, ooh, I think this is a related assumption. I think the assumption that enlightened people are more serious carries the corollary enlightened people are more in the mind. And
Mm.
we think of the body as base, and the image of the laughing Buddha, is such a challenge. Just gotta be serious, guys. It's really serious. And Buddha's like, ha ha ha, look at my big belly. Ha ha ha, I'm laughing. Obviously, there are lots of different depictions of Buddha, but
Yeah.
there is at least that one, right? Where it's like this joyful, beatific smile and big belly. So our assumption that enlightenment is related to being more serious, I think, is also this, it probably comes from the Middle Ages or something. I don't know. Like, I'm just having this sense that's like when the darkness came in and was like, you will build dark churches, you will fill them with miserable people, you will dress in black, and you will just study and not experience life. Just study the
Mm.
words, don't worry about what they mean, or and not even that, just listen to the words that the priest gives you, because you don't have direct access.
And that's the reason why I brought the ecstatics before, because I forgot the name again, but anyway, um the base of a lot of those practices were exactly what you were saying, that us as kids, I done that too, used to do, like turning around and turning around and turning around until you fall over and you crack laughing. uh that's a spiritual experience on itself, and it's based on the body. It's based on your perception of reality within that moment, and just being so present with the movement and with the rhythm and with the music, if there's music, and with everything that is swirling around you, until you see that there's nothing really.
See the absurdity of it all.
Yeah.
uh yeah.
There's so many practices that are on the mind, and I feel that that's something that for a while pushed me away a little bit from meditation when I was younger, because I felt like you can't just empty your mind. And uh, that's the thing that I love about the practices that bring the body with you in the journey, because you get to connect everything and to take away from what we perceive as the mind, which is not the real like observer. It's not. We have so many thoughts and assumptions and beliefs and so on that we believe is our mind, and this is all just like part of the programming. And sometimes for some people it might be easy to just move through those and get to, oh yeah, I am the observer of my thoughts, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my body, I'm not my I am that I am that I am. But for a lot of us, we need to actually break through a lot of the material things to be able to see beyond that, to see the difference between like, oh yeah, I am a soul and who has a body, and not I am a body who with a mind. Or even being like I am the mind might be a little bit easy, a little bit higher for some people than feeling like I am a body, right?
Or I am this specific emotion.
I am
Yeah.
this emotion. Yes. But sometimes we're so tied to that emotion, or so tied to that thought, that are so tied to our physical appearance that we can't see through.
Yeah. So any glimmer we can get, it's a good one. Just keep following the path, and any glimmer you get, celebrate it.
Yeah. There's
Amazing.
not one. And this is one thing that like the path to enlightenment can feel so serious for so many people. And I feel like and it's only for some people. This is something that both tantra and kundalini yoga is part of tantra, which is the whole thing for the householders, the way they say, right? Yes, there is a path of enlightenment where you're just sitting in a mountain and you're waiting for God to talk to you. And I think there's a lot of value in it. I feel like there are moments where we need that silence. We need that solitude to be able to listen to something. I've been, and I'm actually still going through a lot of these moments where I can't listen, and then I need to make more time to listen. But at the same time, there's a path for every one of us. And it gets to be joyful if we just choose to just stay present for as long as we can. It doesn't have to be 3 hours. It doesn't have to be uh, like the same time every day. Just being present the time that we can give our presence to. We lose so much time just being in our phones anyway. Can we just take a moment to like follow whatever uh tingle with you?
Yeah. I'm thinking even the word enlightenment has light in it, which of course has so many meanings, but one of them is the opposite of serious.
Yes.
When you hold something lightly, you're like, oh, maybe it will happen. Is it so? I don't know. It could be. I'm going to hold it lightly.
Making it lighter is, and it's not about reaching anything either. It's just like, can we get a little bit lighter every day?
What better way than laughing?
Yeah.
Laughing at the abject absurdity
A
of life.
big teaching from Guru Jagat that I carry with me as well, and I try to remind myself every day, is that no one needs our insecurities. And I feel like a lot of people, and myself included in many moments, use seriousness as a way to mask insecurity, to protect from insecurity.
Hmm. Oh, I resonate with that for sure. For sure. What a brilliant tool. So I think maybe my insight action is to pay attention to when I find myself getting very serious.
Yeah.
And it, maybe the question is like, what am I defending, or what am I defending against? Where am I feeling under threat?
Yeah.
What about for you?
I actually love that. I feel like I'm gonna catch on the same thing. And also, I want to explore that thing that one of the many insights that came here when you mentioned the word disciple and discipline. It got me feeling like, how can I be more of a disciple instead of focusing on discipline? I need to do this, I need to do that, but like a way of being a disciple instead of like a series of things that I have to do.
I love it. Yeah, this conversation has made me so curious about the etymologies of a few words like serious and, well, I can't remember the other one now. I'll have to think back. But the word origins, like how did we come to use that word the way we use it?
Yeah.
What roots does it have? What is it? What thought forms is it carrying with us? What is it carrying with it that we're using and perpetuating without being aware?
Yeah. 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 That actually makes me think of, if I'm not wrong, this comes from that book, A Course of Miracles, but also in a song from Fia. She says something like, Spirit, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? And what would you have me say? And though this is the way I feel like it's that we can really connect to, in a way of like, I'm open to be used
Yeah.
as like a disciple, as a servant, in to make what I'm doing and what I'm being matter. But also, it's a way of practicing listening and being connected to that, because if we're not listening to the simple things every day, how will we trust when an insight comes that says like, go to that town, or like talk to that person? You might be thinking, I'm not sure about it. Yeah, it's a practice of like that being a disciple is also trusting each nudge.
Being a disciple is trusting each nudge. The discipline to listen. Beautiful. Ah, thank you. Does that feel like a good note to end on?
Yeah.
Well, thanks
Hmm.
for joining us, everybody. Look forward to hearing your thoughts around discipline and being a disciple and seriousness and enlightenment, and what comes up for you in that conversation.
Until next time, stay connected. Take
Take care.
care. And of course, I can't end the stream. No, okay.